morning. So we're still working through some transactions on the team, so we'll have those for you when we start practice. Should happen by then. So on Detroit, this is a team that's a very explosive team, and obviously we have quite a bit of familiarity with Bob and Matt and several other people out there, players as well. But there's quite a bit of continuity from what they did last year with their kicking game and offense, the coordinators, and some of the schemes that they're using defensively. Things are a little bit different, similar obviously to what we did, but certainly not the same. And I think that we can definitely see how competitive the Lions were last week. With the touchdown or the interception that got called back, I would have obviously changed that game around. Tough competitive team, very explosive, can score in a hurry in the kicking game offensively and turn the ball over on defense. So they're very good at that last year, and obviously start off with that type of play against the Jets. So we've got a lot of work to do on this team, and so we'll start working our way through it here today. We're going to have to do a good job offensively of identifying the many variables that Matt will put in front of us, and defensively in the kicking game, defending two of the most explosive groups that we'll face all year. So it's both big challenges for us this week.
So when you say you're still working through some transactions, we should not ask you about Josh Gordon?
You can ask. I can't. We'll talk about it when it's done. If it's done, when it's done.
So that one's not yet done, even though it was on the lead transaction wire yesterday?
That's correct.
What is still pending in the process? Tools or
Finish of the finish of the trade.
What's the last step that has to be made so it's done?
Guess it has to be finalized, Tom. I guess that would do it.
I'll sign off on it.
It's one of the key steps we've been waiting for. I'll make sure everybody knows that, and maybe that can expedite it by a few minutes.
Can we ask you just generally about him as a player previously?
No, I'm not going to talk about players that are not actually, I would say, on our roster. Totally. So when that happens, it happens. If it happens.
Since the trade was on the wire, it wasn't finalized?
There are terms that have to be met before the trade is finalized. And when those are completed, then we'll have a completed trade. And until they're completed, then I'm not going to get into it.
did you have a chance to meet with him?
Any other questions?
What kind of similarities do you see with what Matt's running on defense in Detroit to what you guys do here?
Yeah, there's similarities. They're different players, and there are differences. Matt's had 6 games out there. Had a lot of games here, so the volume, the things that have been shown out there relative to what we have done here over that period of time, Matt did here, is quite different. Does he have those things? Yeah. Is he capable of doing them? Yes. Have they all been done? Not to this point. Will they? I don't know. So, we'll figure that out.
Were you encouraged by the progress you saw from Cyrus Jones in training camp, and was getting rid of him at that point just kind of a numbers game, too many corners?
Yeah. Again, we'll defer those questions to players that are actually on the roster at this point.
At what point could you tell that Matt Patricia might become a head coach, if there was a point here when...
Yeah, look, those aren't my decisions. So we have a lot of good coaches on our staff. I've had a lot of good coaches on my staff. What other organizations do is their decision, not mine. So I can't I can't speak for them. I mean, you should ask that question to the people in the Lions organization.
What do you think makes him a good coach, Matt?
Yeah, I've talked about Matt extensively. I mean, he's a smart guy who works hard, passion for football, all those things. I mean, we've gone on and on about him. None of it's changed.
How dangerous of a downfield throw is Patricia?
As good as there is in football. He's got great weapons. He does an excellent job of seeing down the field in all situations. No matter how much pressure he's under, he seems to find guys down there. Sometimes it appears that they're covered, but he can put the ball where Jones in particular, but also Galladay, and can go up and make plays on the ball. He's very accurate, and he's got a strong arm. He can stand in there and make those throws with or without a rush, in or out of the pocket, stationary or on the run. He's extremely dangerous. One of the very best in the league, for sure.
With Matt as your defensive coordinator, there were times where the defense, statistically speaking at least, got off to sort of a slow start. Here he is in an 0-2 start to his season. So I wondered what qualities in those slow starts here he showed, as he brought the team back around and in some cases ended up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, again, Matt's a good coach. He does an excellent job in all areas. Very competitive coach. So.
The Lions have 8 sacks through the first 2 weeks of the season. What have you seen from their front seven?
Again, team defense. They have very good coverage players. They have good pass rushers, and they have multiple variations in their scheme that make it hard for quarterbacks to find open receivers. They do a good job disguising and mixing up their coverages, and the looks and the leverage that they play on different patterns and receivers. So all those lead to, say, problems in the passing game.
You mentioned special teams earlier. How important is it this week, and has the team improved from week 1?
It's important every week, of course. I would say, this week you're talking about a team that led the league in punt returns last year. They had a touchdown called back on punt return last week against San Francisco. Agnew is a very, very explosive returner. He's dangerous with his speed, his ability to break tackles, his vision, and they do an excellent job. Coach Marciano, who I've known for a long time, does an excellent job in the return game. They always have. It's been a big emphasis point for them, and at the same time, they do a good job of pressuring the punter and pressuring the field goal kicker, and blocking kicks and forcing issues in protection that delay you from on punts for sure, of getting downfield and covering. They do a good job on the kickoff returns with their blocking patterns and their variations, and they have an excellent returner. So yeah, all those things are a big problem.
On your side of the ball, Ryan Allen had a phenomenal game last week. Can you talk about a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we've had our moments. There are things we need to be better at in every phase, all the 6 phases of the kicking game, and this will be a big week for it. We can't afford. It doesn't take much for the Lions to turn those little opportunities into big plays. So we're going to have to really be on top of it from an execution standpoint. Not only our specialists, but all of our core players, and also good awareness to the schemes that they run, and again, how dangerous they are with them. I mean, they block kicks, they return them. They do an excellent job in coverage. They have some penetrators that are very disruptive players, and they have good specialists. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
Are you continuing to see improvement out of Jason Cordy as he gets more and more comfortable in the system?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he had good amount of playing time last week. I thought he did a really solid job for us. He's been able to fulfill a number of roles, both defensively and in the kicking game. He has good versatility. He's a smart guy. Has a lot of experience. So those are all positives.
I think he played a ton of special teams, I guess, in recent years. So have you seen him adjust to taking on that role?
Yeah, well, again, we've talked about this before, but we have 66 players that play on the primary special teams units, and then there's another 66 that have to back them up in one form or another. So, you know, maybe you don't see it, which I understand, but there are a lot of positions that have to be backed up. In the kicking game, there are a lot of positions that have to be backed up in multiple defensive and offensive packages, and so players that can do that give you a lot of value and give you the ability to do the things that you do, because you have people that you can replace them with. Even if it's one person that might replace 10 different spots when you add all the teams together. But without that person, then that affects a lot of other things. So again, it's not always how many plays a player actually participates in. That could vary depending on one injury, one sprained ankle, one equipment problem, one anything. But from a functional standpoint, going into a game or preparing for a game, and the week of preparation for a game, having those players that allow you to have that type of continuity are important to the team's success. Sometimes it goes unseen or maybe even unspoken, but it's certainly an appreciation that is important. So that's the way I would put it.
Bill, a biography of you is coming out this month and you didn't participate. I was curious why.
Because I don't have anything to do with it. Focused right now on Detroit, 2018 football season. I'd like to try to do a good job on that.
So I wanted to just circle back to a general question. Remember, like in 2004 or 2005, you guys were on, or it was reported widely that you were about to sign Jamal Anderson. You were gonna sign. It ended up not happening. And that's why when you say, I'm not talking about the guy until it's on the roster, or until it's finalized, I understand where you're coming from, because it was a cluster that day. Is that more related to why you don't want to talk about this would-be transaction, or because you just don't want the conversation about it?
If and when it happens, I'm happy to talk about it. Okay, it's not completed. So I don't understand how we don't understand that. It's not, when it's completed, it's completed. If it's not completed, it's not completed. And right now, it's not completed. So, next question.
I think the only reason we don't understand is because we've been out here blabbing about it for 3 days and everybody thinks it's
Okay,
done. And the guy
great.
that matters says it's not.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's not completed. It's a process. And when we're through the process, then great. We're in another situation. Right now, we're not through the process.
Is this more of an indictment on some of the wide receivers that you have, or a testament to the hypothetical bringing them here?
I'd say neither.
Ron Harmon said the other day that Pat Chung isn't a player you can really replace with one guy when he's not in the game. How difficult is it to replace Chung when in situations like Sunday when he wasn't able to be out there?
Yeah, Pat's a versatile player. He does a lot of things, and sometimes when a player has that much versatility for you, there's 2 or 3 people that would fill that role between, in his case, defense and the kicking game, or for an offensive player, offense in the kicking game if the player has multiple roles in both units. So, yeah, it's unlikely that you have. Look, we're fortunate that we have one Pat Chung. To have 2 Pat Chungs would be pretty much impossible. So it would be multiple people to do some of the things to do all the things that he does. And we have a number of other players like that. I mean, just everybody. I'd say every team in the league has players like that. They're guys that there's just teams have one of those players, and if he's not there, you just don't have another one like that.
What's the challenge? What's the challenge of getting Golden Tate on the ground?
Very challenging. Golden's excellent with the ball in his hands. He's good without the ball in his hands too. He gets open a lot. Runs very good routes. He's a hard guy to cover. But then once he touches the ball, he's strong. He runs through contact. He's fast. He's quick. He changes directions well, and he has good vision. So he sees openings and space in the field from his punt return background, kick return background, and so forth. when he gets the ball, he can get into those spaces and he runs through tackles. He has good balance. So yeah, I mean Jones does it too. Galladay, obviously the backs. They have a lot of good run after catch players, yards after contact players. The backs are good. Tate's good. Jones is good too. He's quick screens, plays like that. He looks like they gain 2 or 3 yards. He ends up with 15. So that's a big challenge. Not just covering them, but getting them on the ground. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.